Recently, someone from Evolution Tools got in touch with me and asked me if I'd like to try out their Rage 3 10-inch sliding compound mitre saw. They sent it to me along with a mitre saw stand at no cost to me, but on the basis that I consider featuring it in a video or do an unbiased review. So in this video I'm going to test it out and also compare the features and my opinion of the quality of the tool with my main mitre saw, which is set up in my workshop, the Axminster White. Unfortunately, I don't know too much about the Axminster White. I bought it second hand. I don't have a manual for it and I can't find much information about it on the internet, but I do know that it would have been a more expensive saw than the Rage 3. The Rage 3 currently retails at around £149.99 here in the UK, which is about $200, which is very inexpensive for a sliding compound mitre saw. I don't really want to do a detailed unboxing video here, but I will just quickly show what you get in the box. A dust bag, dust collection adapter, support arms, hold down clamps, and the blade, which features some unusual looking teeth. Then you get these parts for assembly, and the main saw itself comes in 3 parts: the base, the sliding rails, and the part with the motor on it. You also get an assembly guidebook in the box along with a warranty card and instruction manual, but you can also find an assembly video on YouTube by Evolution, which is pretty easy to follow. Assembly is pretty easy really. First you screw in this locking knob to the front. I added a bit of grease to the thread first, but that's optional. This knob enables you to lock in the angle you want on the pivoting table. Then you add on this bit of plastic to the pivot switch, which clips in place, and this basically extends the length of the switch. Not really sure why that comes as a separate part, to be honest. Then you get the sliding arms, which you push through the corresponding coloured holes, and there's another locking knob to screw in which controls the sliding motion of the saw. And then you can push on the part with the motor on it, which just clicks nicely into place. There's a little push switch which lets you lock down the tilting head, presumably that's for the ease of moving it from place to place. And there's a safety trigger which allows you to tilt the head and open up the guard to make a cut. The blade fits with an Allen key. And really that's all there is to it. The mitre stand is easy to put up, and it is pretty impressive for the money in my opinion. This retails at £49.99, that's about $66. The legs click in place with a satisfying click. You can attach the mitre saw onto the arms with some bolt knobs, but I didn't bother doing that. The stand is really rigid and sturdy. It has these extension arms and these accessories which slide onto it. You can either set it up to use it with the roller, or set it higher and use it as a stop block for consistent and repeatable cuts. I used a straight edge to set the height level with the table, which was again easy to do. The mitre stand is well designed and a pleasure to use. It's perfect for anyone who wants a more flexible and portable alternative to a mitre station. The extension arm allows you to cut over 80 centimeters or 31.5 inches using the stop block. If you choose to use the roller, then you can support workpieces much longer than this. So one of the main marketing features of this saw is that the blade is capable of cutting through metal, so I thought I'd try that out first. I hammered in a 3mm thick nail into the end grain of some pine. And the blade cut through that with no issues. In fact, I could barely even notice when it went through the nail. This saw tilts one way, unfortunately not both ways, to 45 degrees. With the blade tilted to 45 degrees, at first I was confused as the fence was in the way, but then I found a knob on the back that allows you to move it out of the way. Pretty neat. If you are one of those people that read instruction manuals, then you would figure that out long before I did. I've checked online and Evolution do sell another model of this saw called the Evolution 3 DB, which stands for double bevel, which does tilt both ways to 45 degrees. Next I wanted to set up the saw, so I tested the squareness with the table to the blade, and it was perfect right out of the box. Then I checked the squareness of the fence to the blade, and that was a little bit off. But it was easy to fix. You just use an Allen key and move the fence until it's square to the blade. One of the features I really like about this saw that my other Mitre saw doesn't have is that it's got a depth stop feature. So currently the blade is set to cut at its full depth, but by adjusting this knob you can change it so that the cut doesn't go fully through the board. This feature is great for making dado joint cuts if you don't have a table saw, or if you'd prefer to make these sort of cuts on the Mitre saw, where you can see what you are cutting a little bit easier. The downside of doing this sort of thing on the Mitre saw is that you either have to rotate the workpiece and cut it from both sides, which is what I did, or alternatively you could use a sacrificial board behind the workpiece in order to get a level cut from front to back. Another feature that the Rage 3 has that my Axminster doesn't is this laser guide. I just want to compare the cleanness of the cut on both the Axminster and the Evolution. The Axminster has recently had a new Freud blade fitted, but it's not as new as the blade in the Evolution, so it'll be interesting to see how the cuts compare. Neither of these saws are fitted with zero clearance inserts, however both of them cut really cleanly. This is the cleanness of the cut on the Axminster saw. You can see there's very minimal chip out on the bottom there. And this is the cleanness of the cut on the Evolution saw. Still a really clean cut with minimal chip out, however on the bottom here you can see there's a little bit more than there was on the Axminster saw. However, with a bit of sanding, you just wouldn't notice that. I want to test out the volume of each tool as well to find out which one is the noisiest. The camera is currently positioned at equal distance to both saws. First I'll try the Axminster. And now the Evolution. Neither of these saws are particularly loud, however the Axminster is quieter due to the induction motor. Now I need to decide whether to keep my Axminster Mitre saw or to swap it out for the Evolution Rage 3. And I have to say it's a really difficult decision because both saws have their pros and cons. The Evolution has the depth of cut adjustment, which I think I would use a lot, and the Axminster does not. It also has the blade that is capable of cutting through metal, which is a pretty useful feature, although I don't work with metal very frequently, so it's not a huge benefit to me personally. Having said that, it's great to be able to cut through wood without having to worry about whether there might be nails inside. The Evolution is much lighter, so it's much easier to move around. The Axminster is really heavy. But then again, I don't really personally have a need for it to be portable. If I was out and about working on job sites all of the time, then the Evolution would definitely be the better choice. The Evolution also has the laser feature, which the Axminster does not, and the sliding arm on the Evolution works a little smoother. It requires less effort to pull the head back and forth, which is definitely a bonus. The Axminster has the dual tilt as opposed to the single tilt of the Evolution, although I will point out again that Evolution do make another model, which is the DB model, which does tilt both ways. The Axminster also runs quieter as it has an induction motor. I do prefer the table base on the Axminster in comparison with the Evolution, purely because it's more heavy duty. Having said that, the Evolution is priced very low, and the lighter table actually makes it better in terms of portability. The Axminster also gives a cleaner cut with wood, which is probably to do with the teeth being designed differently on the Evolution blade so that it has the capability of cutting through metal. The Axminster also has a slightly wider cross-cut capability at 300mm compared to the Evolution's 255mm. Both saws work really well and are built nicely. There is very little side-to-side play on the sliding mechanisms on both saws, so they're pretty comparable really, and they both cut really accurately. Ideally I'd keep both saws, keeping the Axminster in the workshop and keeping the Evolution as a more portable option. But right now woodwork is just a hobby for me, and I don't do much travelling, so I really don't have a need for a portable saw. So I don't think that I would use the Evolution enough to justify keeping it. And also my workshop is obviously very small and I don't have space to keep two saws. So I've decided to stick with the Axminster because the Axminster is already set up in my Mitre station, and I really can't be bothered to make all of the necessary adjustments that I would need to make in order to swap the saw for the Evolution. But really there's not much in it between the two saws. I would happily keep and use either of them. Thanks a lot to Evolution for letting me try it out. I enjoyed using it, and it was a nice opportunity to do more of a review style video, as I've not done that sort of thing before. I hope that this video is useful to some of you. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't already for more woodworking videos. Thanks for watching.